Good evening, everybody. Sorry that we started a little bit late. We have some technical issues. Tonight, I want to share with you some of the ideas that I believe that young people have to share with other young people in order to face the challenges that we have as a society, as part of the world. You here in Canada, I have my own challenges back in Costa Rica, but there are certain things that we have in common. And these things that we have in common is that we need a certain type of leadership, which is not the same leadership that we've been hearing of. It's not the same leadership that we've been seeing from all of these years. And this leadership has one characteristic that makes it different. It's disruptive. So the first disruptive thing that I want to do today is to challenge what you think of leadership nowadays. Because leadership doesn't just happen. It's not just something that appears axiomatically just because you have to have a group of persons that you need to take a task with. So being a leader requires more than having a responsibility. And the type of leadership that actually matters goes beyond many certain visions that we have. So what's the leadership that we've been taught to? Which are the today's challenges? So you hear, you go there and unify multiple ideas in an ever-changing world. This is the challenge of leadership nowadays. Then you can say, okay, another challenge that leadership has nowadays is find a way to bring people together to create world peace. And what is the main obstacle for a leader to get stuff done? What's the main obstacle to find success? So fear is the main obstacle of the leader. But wait a second. Where do these ideas come from? Why is not a common thread on all of these ideas? I mean, there's just it's words and phrases, cliches that you see. So every time I see someone talking about leadership, you can find authors who think themselves as classics, and they sit down and read their own books, and say, this is my idea of leadership, and read pages of their books. But it doesn't make any sense, and especially doesn't make any sense to young people, because for us, what they fill us out is with cliches phrases about leadership. So if you read these phrases, I think you've read all of them. You hear all of them. You've seen all of them in books. But it doesn't make any sense. So I don't believe in this type of leadership. I strongly disagree that the leadership that the young people require nowadays is filled with this, nonsense. So nothing that has presented to us today makes any sense. And the most important, the most troublesome thing is that it just filled with cliches. And as Chuck Klosterman says, and I love this author, he says the most important things are always filled with cliches. So the leadership that we need, the disruption that we need for nowadays challenges is just filled with these cliches. So what I'm going to present today are some lessons that I've personally taken from serious approaches to leadership and innovation. Things that I've put into practice and I can truly say worked out for me. And so the next question is, where do we start? So if all that we know is already out, if all of this nonsense that we hear is already out, where do we start? So let's start with the most simple idea of leadership that can be handed out. And this is, for me, the most serious author about leadership that I've read, and the one that I feel fulfills the real needs of modern leadership. His name is Nitin Noria. He's the dean of the Harvard Business School. I had the joy to hear him speak and to hear him talk about serious leadership, scientifically proven how do we take into account this leadership. And for me, the most important thing that he said is that a leader must have three things in his group, in his endeavor, to deal with three things that you will find. It doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's a business, if it's a non-governmental thing, doesn't matter what are you doing. You always are going to have to deal with uncertainty, complexity, and diversity. Those are the three things that a leader faces. And all of us has faced that in many things that we've done. Uncertainty. Most of the time, things show up, things appear that we didn't expect it for them to happen. Troubles that just appear in our, for example, who has at any time is doing any type of homework or project for the university, and suddenly there's something that nobody read, a requisite, and then everybody's rushing out to fulfill it. I think that all of us here had that situation, right? All of us have to deal with complexity. Many times when we're working with other people, then we find that this one is not getting along with this one. They're fighting and everything is falling apart because two persons inside a group are not working together, right? So these are concepts that are not far away from us. They make sense. And diversity, that's the most common one, and this is the one I'm going to spend more time talking about, is because 99% of the time, the people we work with have different opinions, different backgrounds, have different ways to see things. And if a leader is unable to create work identity to deal with this diversity, it's impossible for him to just, or for her, to get to the objectives he's pursuing. So the three things that a leader must create in his group is institutional work, integrative work, and a sense of identity. Okay? And regarding innovation, this is the most important thing and the one that people pay less attention. When we have to disrupt something, when we have to innovate, but really innovate, we need people who will share our ideas, who will share our visions. And if everybody comes with different ideas and different visions, if we are unable to create this identity, whatever we're leading is not going to find a success. So we can argue that a leader is not someone that has special attributes. That's another thing that's important to understand. I am not a leader and you're not a leader and Sean Su is not a leader just because we are special, because we were born under a certain sign of the horoscope, whatever. That doesn't exist. A true leader is a person who can help their followers meet the need for meaning. I think that, I don't know if you have this experience, but when you ever have a job that you don't like, that you don't know what you're doing, that you just, saying, I just get here at morning and go out in the afternoon just because I need this money, that's the type of environment when leadership is needed. Because when a leader is able to deliver to his or her followers the meaning to accomplish a goal personally, that's when that person can find a satisfaction of what he's doing, even when the results are not the best, even when the troubles come. So for me, that building of identity, that capacity of a leader to deliver meaning to the followers is the main characteristic that the leader has. It's not something extraordinary, but it's something that is the base where we build all that we're doing. So since my English can be a little bit bad, I have actually stolen this video from a TED conference, and I think this video is going to show you the abilities, the diagnostic abilities of a leader, which is the flexibility, the signaling of intention, and be able to create group identification.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes, and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be the first follower. You stand out and you create ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut, and it's not two nuts. 3 is...
So look at how this video is a perfect example of what is here. Conveying the group, developing identification. So the first guy, is the one who's able to say, okay, now come here, do the same that I'm doing, and we're going to create a group identification. Once I have another person doing the same I'm doing, and believing the same things I'm believing, now I have a group. The next part is coaching group members and setting up group norms. So let's see how the video ends.
The crowd, and the crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get...
So, the lesson here is, we've discussed 3 things: complexity, uncertainty, and diversity. For being disruptive, the most challenging one is going to be diversity, bringing people together around your ideas. And this is the 3 tasks that a leader must follow in order to succeed when has a disruptive idea. So this breaks a lot of the things that we've heard about. Ironically, with all the communication technology that we have today, it's very difficult to get a message from one person to the other one. So if we want to do that unambiguous signaling of what we think, we need a person-to-person relationship. And this almost sounds like basic, like, yeah, everybody knows that. But it doesn't work like that. Most of the time, especially when young people is leading something, we forgot about the person-to-person relationship. And this destroys that unambiguous signaling of intentions. Because we can just send words. We can just send black over white. The communication to people, person to person, is what builds this union of ideas. And I always say this: the difference between a community, between having this community and subordinates, is where the leader is. Is it in a podium, or is down in the benches with their people? So this breaks a lot of what the leadership idea that is built on the subconscious of our way of doing things changes, because we know that a leader is the one that's up there telling what to do, the norms. We're seeing that now. The main challenge of bringing people together is to be with the people. And there's an important challenge. My father always said, and I don't never forget about this, where the actions are missing, when there's no action going on, there's always a surplus of words. So when you're unable to work with your team, you're always going to find excuses. You're always are going to be able to, bring people a sermon. That's the one you're going to find. So if you are not working, you're always going to find a lot of words to say why not. But there's the other side of the story. Leading by doing ceases to be leading when you do more than leading. That's when we stop leading the people and start doing their jobs. And that's the other extreme of this. And keeping the balance is very difficult. I can actually tell you how I can't tell you how many times I failed finding this balance. But if we don't understand that these 2 extreme points exist, we're not going to be never able to actually deliver to the people we work with the leadership they need. Put in other hand, there's a catch on all this, these failures, the failures that we have when we do this, is the one that teaches how to find this balance. And this is why, for example, Aiesec is paramount. It's just fundamental experience of life. Because this is where you fail, and this is where you find success. This is where you get this practice in an environment that will not threaten your future, your career, or anything else. And this is the reason why we do what we do. So, how is the leadership that we've been shown so far? I show you my vision of leadership. I show you the only 3 things I believe about leadership. That I can summarize it in those 3 words. And I show you why the important thing about being close when you want to be disruptive. So, the most of the leadership that we've known lacks of sense. That's the first part. So for young people, they will tell you things to be truly yourself, go ahead, come on, explore your potential, see yourself in the mirror and say you're a winner. You know, it's like a sort of crazy hedonism about, I just find it so disgusting because it's just these empty ideas that people throw out for you to focus on yourself, on your potential, on going on, and that doesn't make any sense. Because they told you all of that, and then they will tell you, wait your line for your turn. So you say, what? You're telling me, yeah, my potential, go on. No, no, hold on, you know, you're very young, you're gonna have to get experience with time. So what does that mean? In Costa Rica, we have this phrase, you have to earn your floor right. I don't know if it have any sense in English, but I tried to translate it at this days. It means that you have to earn your right to be the last one. So it's like, what is the message today? Or I'm going to tell you another one that you may find more, you know, common here. In due time, you will climb the corporate ladder. So my point is that we have bought an utopical idea of what leadership is. We've bought a contradictory thing. Yeah, focus on yourself, your potential, go on, you know, meaning. And on the other hand, they'll say, you just hold on, and with time, you will get to do what you have to do. So what I must say is that I don't believe in that. And I don't believe that this only applies to business. People always talk about leadership like it's in business. What about social leadership? What about political leadership? And it's the same thing you're going to find in all of these places. And you're going to find empty spaces for leadership taken by the less qualified people. And then, where does innovation come from? So if we have this leadership idea, how do we find the innovation that we want to do new things, the new things that we want to lead? So innovation results from finding original ideas, things that are actually different. And the world faces nowadays, and this is the reason for disruption that I think, faces a lot of challenges in almost every human activity that requires innovation, but truly innovation. And if you want to innovate, you're going to have to lead a group of people who believe in your innovations. And if your innovation is going to be extreme enough, is going to be disruptive enough, then you're going to need to get a really, really strong team, a really, really strong group of persons around you. So how to identify disruptive innovations worthy of attention? You know, like, how do we know that every person that tells us an idea is just not another crazy nut trying to, you know, sell something? The first thing is that you have to look for evidence. The most important evidence I found is that most of the time people who have disruptive ideas and want to innovate, they are ignored by other dominant players. Focus on specific catalytic innovations. You know, like, okay, you have this idea, it's very different, but how this actually is going to serve an identifying need. Like, there's a joke that says, like, the secret of business is creating a need and then fulfill it. But then the point is, how is that this idea that's disruptive is going to be able to fulfill a need? Let me give you an idea. In Costa Rica, every university, in order to graduate people, every student has to get 400 hours of community work. Most of the private universities back in Costa Rica, they just waive this requisite. They sign that the student did 400 hours of community work and they just graduate them. So this student finds out that there's a need to get, you know, community work to the private universities. Like, private universities need more things to put their students to do. And he creates a foundation which takes private university students and puts them in low-resource schools to teach math, Spanish, and the other things. So this is the type of innovation I'm talking about. You find a need. You find someone that nobody's taking care, nobody's paying attention to, because nobody wanted to work with this guy who had this idea, because private universities, most of the time, they just want to, you know, graduate people in order to get checks for graduation rights. But he actually did it, and he has a foundation that just works on that. And then the other part of the story is, how is this person, or this not, if you want to see it that way, able to deliver what he's promising? See? Okay, now, okay, you have the idea, I understand who is going to, but how are you going to do it? So are there any processes, resources to support this innovation? Is your innovation transferable? So the thing is, like, you have to be able to create something that's very new, but also makes sense. And this is the challenge. This is why leadership and innovation just not happen every day, and every one of us does have innovative ideas, because it takes a lot of work to do these two things. So then the question is, why disruptive? Why do I keep saying this word? Let's say first, what does disruptive mean? The origin is from around the 17th century, from the Latin disruptus. It's actually a variation of the word break. So even when most of the time this disruptive innovation is linked with technological breakthrough, nowadays we have to find disruptive ideas to get another ways to work things out. And to put it into perspective, the crisis that we face, energy crisis, requires a lot of innovation that's disruptive. That's my field of work. The people who work in economics, which are going to be the disruptive ideas to find another way for us to work the economic side without being dependent of growth. Now that we figured out that growth is not infinite, and we cannot just have infinite growing for all the aspects of life. How are we going to be disruptive about getting poor people into society and find for them houses, and find for them schools, and find for them many of the needs that they have without threatening the future of everybody? How are we going to define things that for us were just granted and now we have to think about in a different way, like prosperity? So disruption is not only for technological, because all of the things that we created so far are failing us. And it's our generation's duty to create these new visions on things, not only the technological side. So the world needs to find answers to many problems. Much of the business as usual things that we know has failed us. And the biggest failure, you saw it. What happened when a lot of credit went into the banks and the banks lent more money and then failed? It caused a crisis. I come from a small country which has no responsibility on that. And for us, it meant a 5% increase in debt. It meant more fiscal problems. So we faced a lot of issues that we didn't cause. Because the true thing is that most of the things that we've created, the schemes the schemes of our life is being built on, are not working anymore. So this is the main idea that I want you to take about disruption. We need to take abilities, organizational structures, and values for new usages. This is the main thing, new usages. How are we going to start creating new value on actions, on things, and on organizations to fulfill these new needs, to fulfill these things that are required? These are changes that they only happen once in a generation. And we need to be truly disruptive in this way. And this is the main challenge. Displace other forms. The things that every one of us in our fields are going to have to lead. And why is disruptive? Is because there's a need for us to displace other forms of doing things. And this is why I focused on the idea of diversity, and that people will follow you, because the ideas that we need will displace the things that we know. And we need people believing in our ideas. And if as leaders, we are unable to get people to believe in what we believe, and then them help us displacing these other forms, there's no way we're going to be able to face the challenges that today's world has for us. So let's see some examples of disruptive things that I've seen over my life. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, no, this won't work. No, this won't either work. No. These are not the type of examples we need today. Those are the examples, the people that grow and get things from the schemes that failed us. So, okay, they're good examples. We can read it in history as we read for me, reading about these guys, it's like reading about ancient Rome or Greece. It's very funny and interesting. But the truth is that they succeed on a circumstance that we do not have anymore. So let's find people who is doing things and they're having success on the conditions that we have today. And this is the
Hi, my name is Nancy Loveland, and if you like pina coladas and long walks on the beach at sunset, ooh, wrong video, you might like my book Zilch, The Power of Zero in Business. I wrote this book because I really think there are a lot of things that not-for-profits do well as businesses. I don't mean heart or zen or mission or yoga or any of that stuff. I mean things that we do really well as businesses, like building a brand without taking a Super Bowl ad, or incentivizing employees to rock really tough projects without throwing more money at them. So it's got really practical tips. There are questions at the end of every chapter to ask you whether or not you're doing more with less in your own company. You can get it on Amazon.
So look at how powerful is this idea, how disruptive it is. Can we find value in the actions with zero money into it? How can we build value of things that we do without thinking about if it's worth it in money terms or not? And this is important because this is exactly the type of ideas that we know in the business side. Now let me show you an example from the political side. And this is an example I wanted to bring. I know that I criticize other authors who talk about themselves, you know, on the ego, but I'm very proud about this because this for me is the main reason why I still believe that young people can do this and be successful. In Costa Rica, we have a political party called Liberación Nacional. And this is the president of this political party. And this is the main candidate for president. And the question for me is, where is this guy? Space. The young people. Me and my friends, we have a group of friends, 5 of us, who were completely in love and believe in the ideas that founded our party. But these people here, they didn't find any space for young people to engage. And many people just went out of the party and they said, we don't want to engage because, you know, these old people, they have their ideas, but they forgot that we believe in things that are not bonded to these guys. And we said, no, we're going to create a group. We're going to create a group who will create a political leadership program for young people. And this is crazy because we said, we have to convince people to come here on the Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to noon, 5 weekends in a row, to learn political leadership from another young people. No payments, they're not getting paid, they're not getting anything. They're just getting the recognition of following the leadership political program that we created. And they will have to fulfill a leadership experience to get graduated. And we said, we have 2 options here. We can do whatever is done every time in the party. That we create, you know, just a superficial thing, everyone who goes gets graduated, or we're going to create something hard. Something that people have to come here and read, and are gonna have questions, and we're gonna have to do it hard. And we said, the change we wanna see in political leadership, we cannot change this guy. But we can change the guys who are going to go further away. And we had the first generation, 45 people, and a second generation of 32 people. And last weekend, our third generation of 35 people graduated. This is over 100 young people who followed our idea of leadership, who followed our program of political leadership, and we succeeded. And I am very happy to say that this was done by 5 young people with more support of people coming in here. And this is how we create change. This is the type of changes I'm telling you, this is disruptive. Because the party hates us for doing this and for being successful. The president sent us a letter telling us to stop. And we didn't, and we graduated over 100 people now. And most of these people is going to run next January for political spaces in districts and political spaces in provinces. So this is the change that we wanted and we created. Another great example is Aiesec. I mean, Aiesec is a great example of finding value in you know, where changing the idea is like the best question that we get when we're trying to sell Aiesec to someone is, where are you selling? And you say, young leadership. So it's crazy. I mean, who sells leadership? Can you put them on? How much does it cost? No, because we believe that what we do is beyond, you know, selling more exchanges or selling more TNs. It's about young leadership. We've been finding value. It's so disruptive that for us, our profit is in life changes. It's not, we put a lot of effort. People do not sleep, go to bed at 2 a.m. in the morning, go to conferences. They engage in activities that even endanger the academic progress. But we keep doing it because we believe that this is going to change lives. So what leadership needs today is find another way to add value, different value to our actions and what we do. And we don't need more management. We don't need more people doing cash flows. We don't need more people telling us, strategy, vision. We need meaningful leadership that will create on us the need of disrupt the things that are not working. And most of the time people say to me that, yeah, that's a funny thing, you're young, and with time you will be, and I always say, I prefer to be green and keep growing rather than be mature and ready to rot. So thank you very much. This is my final message. And I hope every one of you actually tries to find these ideas that will really create something new, because the world needs it. Almost every human activity needs a change today. And for us to get this change done, we have to be a different type of leader. We don't have the leader that manages. We need to be the leaders that bring meaning. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jose. I found that a very powerful speech today. Next week, we're going to be having Carson talking about team recipe. So thank you all for coming today, and I hope to see you all next week as well on Tuesday, 7 o'clock to 7:30, same room. Have a good day, guys.